Sanam, yogis and yoginis, hello and welcome. Welcome to the stream. People are logging in, people are connecting and getting everything ready. And this is gonna be, today is gonna be the last stream of the year. And yeah, excited for what's coming next year. This is the 28th of December when I'm streaming today. I don't know if somebody's watching the recording, but yeah, today is gonna be the last one of the year. If you're here, say hello, say Saddam, say Namaskar, or whatever you say in your language in the chat so that we can see you and we can be together. And as usual, I generally have something planned for one of the days that I'm streaming during the week. And the other day, I am not programming anything. So today is a free day and we can do whatever we like to do. And yes, very, very, very close to the... sorry, I'm just seeing a message right now popping up from Willie. It comes in the screen. Saddam and happy Raman Mahari Jayanti. Hello, Willie, Saddam. Do you follow Raman Maharshi's teachings? Is it something that you got in contact with? This is that's where my heart is. My heart is with him. Raman Maharshi is my personal guru. And yeah, maybe I can talk a little bit about that, but also about the end of the year, what's coming for next year. And Saddam, Sophia, Saddam, hello, G. How are you doing? That's good to see you here. Welcome to the stream. And yeah, so next year, I'm going to carry on doing these kind of streams, and I think I'm going to increase the frequency of them. I've had quite a few comments of people telling me, why don't you plan them more in advance? Like tell us like previous week or something, when are you going to be streaming? But it's been difficult. It's challenging to organize when am I going to be exactly online. It has been difficult, but I think I can make a better job for next year. Hello, Seth. Hello, Happy New Year. Yes, it's coming. It's coming. Just a few days. It's like the final countdown. 3, 2, 1, go. Right. So next year, I'm thinking about expanding the range of these kind of meetings that we are doing here, these satsangs. And I'm thinking someday I can dedicate to one of the courses that I will be running. In this case, right now, I'm doing the mind course. I keep coming back to the mantra course. It was really impactful for me. But so I'm doing the mind course now, but I will be doing other courses. And then I will leave some other days, one day for just chanting and meditating. But I'm thinking also start doing numerology, which is my other passion, which I still haven't really gone deep into that on these streams and the channel. Even the channel, it doesn't have too much numbers, and I'm going to start putting much more numbers from next year onwards. And maybe also I was thinking about study together your session, you know, sort of taking one book, maybe the Yoga Sutras or the Bhagavad Gita or something like that, and let's read it together with my camera that I have here that you can read with me. And let's read it and let's meditate upon it. Let's try to understand what it's saying, things like that. So these are my ideas for next year. And well, we'll see what comes. So Eli says his teachings really resonate within me and read of him and from him almost every day. Well, that's really nice. Very, very wonderful. Yeah. Yeah, Ramana Maharshi is... you know, I said this is my personal guru. What I mean by that is that in this new age that we are living right now, we generally say that gurus are those who got into that liberated state. And that's really, really extremely hard to find. I would say, you know, 1 in a billion or even less than that. No, 1 in a billion in a generation, maybe. And so... who is alive now that can call him or herself a guru right now? I'm not sure. And so we are saying now, at least in the Kundalini Yoga line, Namaskaram, hello Dark King, hello, welcome to the stream. So what we are saying is that there's many teachers, and you can go with as many teachers as you want and, you know, learn. And then you need to find, at some point you will find somebody that you can feel totally aligned with, that somebody that you feel that you can bow your head, and he or she is going to serve you in dealing with your issues, with your ego, and how to live a most dharmic life. And that when you recognize that person, that becomes your spiritual teacher, right? And so this is like kind of like, there's me, there's a few teachers that I can be inspired by, like I can even, I watch YouTube channels like Sadhguru or Muji or things like that, and oh, that's inspiring. Okay, so I have many teachers, but then I have one spiritual teacher, one that when I am in doubt, when I have some part of the teachings that I don't understand, or some part of myself that I'm trying to reflect on, then that's one spiritual teacher. And we don't have like 6 spiritual teachers. We have like many teachers, but it's just one like big in capital letters teacher, no? Because if you have 6 and every one of them says a different thing, then what are you going to choose to do? You're going to choose from your limited self, probably from your ego. So we would say that there is one. At some point, you will recognize there is one teacher you're going to be like recognizing as your spiritual teacher. Like a Paramahansa, yes, kind of, yeah. It's like a great soul. It's somebody that's going to bring you the closest to your highest self. So, and it doesn't have to be the most knowledgeable person or the most wise or the most whatever standards you have for measuring the quality of somebody who is teaching. It's not that. It's about somebody that you feel in sync with, somebody you feel harmony with. So my spiritual teacher is Shiv Charan Singh. He's the person that I go to him very often, and most of the things that I teach, even though I don't talk about him so often, it comes from him. So this is what I learned from Shiv Charan Singh, and he's my spiritual teacher. But then that's the thing. So there's you, there's the many teachers, there's one spiritual teacher, like, and then you go one level beyond, then there's the guru, right? That's right before God. Because God is something that is so difficult to tune into. What is God? Or who is God? I mean, Guru Nanak says in the Japji, talking about this is like trying to chew iron. It's as hard as chewing iron. Eh? Talking about the different spheres of divinity and talking about God you're going to regret. No matter what you say, you're going to regret it. And indeed, for me, God was a word that was too big for my mouth for many, many, many years, even after I made peace with my spiritual side. But eventually I thought, well, what other word are you going to use? And there is many words that people use, like cosmic consciousness or like primary intelligence or super conscious being, or I don't know. What words do you use to talk to God, right? And somebody will call it Brahma, and somebody will call it Allah. So there's many words to talk about this aspect. The way I relate to God is through perceiving that there is an intelligence guiding everything happening. I'll give you an example. I don't know if I've given this example before, but I was teaching yoga classes in the morning at 8 in the morning every Tuesday and Thursday, I think it was, in Sabadell, a little town in Catalonia, near Barcelona. And every day every one of these days that I was teaching, I would go with a car and I would park and I would go to the yoga center, and then I would put my turban on. If it wasn't on yet, I would put on my uniform, my yogic uniform, and then the class, prepare the class, the incense, the lights, and then wait until the time was come. But then that day, as soon as I arrived with the car, I felt it was not time to go yet. So I just sat in the car, and then I was okay, let's meditate. So I stayed meditating for a while. I never did that. So it's not something that I would sometimes do. I never would do that. I would just go to the center. If I have to meditate, I prefer to meditate when the room is ready, so I don't have to rush later, no? But then I was meditating, and something like 10 minutes passed or something like that. I had plenty of time, so no problem. And then around 10 minutes or so, I felt, okay, now we can go. All right. I don't know why, but okay, I feel I trust my intuition. When my intuition tells me something, I do it. So I took my bag, come out of the car, and start going towards the center. And this same intuition is telling me, don't go through that road today, go through this little street. Okay, let's take this little street. And I go through that little street, and in the corner of that little street, me going in this direction and coming in this direction, comes a friend of mine who I had not seen for years, and I didn't have his phone number. So it was like this incredible meeting, and everything was like prepared. And to me, it was like so clear this was not a coincidence, right? Because I was delaying what I normally do. I was going through a path that I don't normally do, and then having this special meeting at that moment. So I was guided. Like many things in life that I feel that I have been guided. This is just one example, right? But then when you find something like this, then you have to stop and think for a moment afterwards and say, well, who was guiding me? And if this was guidance, there was some guidance behind, that guidance has a certain intelligence, right? Because it was not a random thing. There was a intelligent like design of how that meeting was going to happen. And yes, I was that day particularly open and receive the information to go in that way. So yeah, okay, good for me that I was intuitive enough to perceive it. Sometimes we don't know these things, or we have an intuition and we just dismiss it because it's just silly. And then because we didn't take that street, or because we didn't wait 10 minutes in the car, later we will dismiss, why did I have that feeling? It's silly, right? But if we do it, if we follow it, sometimes we have these strange meetings. So there is some intelligence in the universe that created a pattern, and in this intelligent pattern, in this harmonic design, I was supposed to meet with my friend. And I believe life is like that. If we are open to perceiving that message, by the way, is called hukam. Yeah. So if you are aware and in a receiving mode to perceive that hukam, wonderful things can happen. These synchronicities, they are like little signs that they show you that you are being listened to, that you are being cared for, that you are being protected, and that there is a particular destiny that you can fulfill. And if you feel in alignment with that voices, that hukam, if you put yourself in harmony with that, then you can go towards that destiny. Now, the design, that intelligent design, that's what I feel it's God. That intelligence that is behind all these little threads in the matrix, in the Tantra. And then I am a little thread, my friend was another little thread, and everything that happens around us is little threads. And then there is, we are too busy being a little thread to see the mosaic, the big picture, the tapestry that is being created. That's a beautiful design. We are too busy with that line, but when we zoom out, we can see this bigger design. And so that is God, and that's in a way so impossible to know what it really is directly. So a way to relate to God is to have God in focus, into somebody who has reached the closest to God or merged with God, and then he can or she can still tell us how it's the meeting so we can relate to. That's what Guru is for me. So God in focus, God in focus. Dark King says, some say it is easier to attune oneself with a Guru in physical form compared to through just consciousness. Yeah? What do you think? My Guru, Paramhansa Yogananda, has left his body same as yours. Yes, exactly. So when I relate to Raman Mahari is the same way as you could relate to Yogananda. In fact, you have Yogananda over there. I would say Yogananda is the guru of my family, if I had to say it in some way, because his book had such an impact on all of us, my mother, my father, my sister, and me, that it made us. I don't think if we would be here doing what we do if we had not read that book. So I think it's incredible, the imprint that some saints leave in the earth, right? It's like an imprint in the sands of time, right? And some of us maybe just leave a little notch, a little thingy, and then it goes away with the winds of time. And some people leave such an imprint that it gets like fossilized, right, into the consciousness of the humanity, if we can say it like that. So for generations to come, they will come back and look at that, in this case, like a book. Or, well, Yogananda has many teachings, right? Not just the book, right? But the autobiography for yogi is maybe the most well-known, and the one that is more read from people from outside the world of yoga. So it's like looking at that fossilized thing that is still alive. When you read it, you feel the love, you feel the devotion, and it inspires you to be a yogi. So yes, those people who have reached to that stage, same as when we read Ramana Maharshi's teachings, like Willie was mentioning, you read it and he is alive. I feel him, literally. I feel his presence. And when I am tuning into him, when I am reading the book or some of his teachings, right, or when I just allow myself to tune into him, the feeling is there. Not always, but it's not his fault. That's my fault of not being sensitive enough to being able to perceive it, right? But sometimes some magical moments when you are tuned in and when you are sensitive enough and everything is clear, then they are right there. The gurus are right there. And it's as clear a presence as having somebody next to you. And you know you're being guided and protected, right? So my connection to Ramana Maharshi came after Yogananda, actually, because Yogananda would be in my family, and then it was through my family that I got to yoga. And it was later on when I started yoga and I started learning mantras with Mas Murray. I went to India for a few months with Mas Murray, and then his teacher was, he has a few names, Sri Ramamurti, and he moved, well, that was in the 70s in UK, and he had a very important impact in the consciousness at that time when they were coming out of the drugs and the hippie era, and they were looking for something spiritual which didn't require drugs. And in that movement, Sri Ramamurti was coming into Europe and bringing these teachings from India. And he was a doctor, so he knew all about medicine, but also he was a Sanskrit scholar and a mantra yogi. So he was teaching the Sanskrit alphabet the way I have been teaching it in this channel and some other things, right? So, and the alignment through Sri Ramamurti was towards Ramana Maharshi. So Mas Murray's guru is Ramana Maharshi, and my personal guru is also Ramana Maharshi. Because when I went to his ashram, more than his ashram, the cave where he lived, and when I was in that cave meditating, something very strongly was happening there. And when I heard the mantra from Hridaya Kuharamadye, that has such an impact in me that I felt this is God in focus for me. This is the most clear. So even though now I know the stories of the gurus from the Sikh Dharmas, and I know of other gurus, or like Yogananda or some other from other traditions, then my alignment always feels closer to Ramana Maharshi. And in a way, a big part of me, which is quite paradoxical, what I'm going to say right now, a part of me would love that I could just sit in silence and we could just be together and meditate together. This is so paradoxical because I have a YouTube channel, right? And in YouTube, it's all about what you are communicating, and that's through words, right? But in India, I think in olden times, you could just go to a teacher and you could just sit. And just in the presence, in the silent presence of the teacher, you would receive the teachings. And that's something that is so rare today. And but a part of me, my soul, asks me, just shut up, Ardaas. Why do you keep talking? Why is there a need for more words? And I would love to just say silence. And then, some of you, I imagine some of you in your houses looking at the iPad and, okay, now is YouTube silent channel. All right. But I think there is a lot of powerful things happening through presence, though also through the distance of this electronic medium, which is YouTube and online. It's harder because it's very, very, very subtle. So to connect to that, I think it's very possible, but it's harder than if we are face to face, we are together in the same physical space. Somehow, some of the other aspects of the presence coming into being. But yeah, it would be so lovely to explore that as well. Yeah. Oh, Satnam Latika. Hello, welcome. Haven't seen you for a while in this in the online gatherings. So welcome. Welcome everyone who is tuning in. Yeah, thank you for being with us in this last stream of the year, and thank you for your patience. Also, sometimes it may feel like I don't know where I'm going when I'm talking, like I'm taking this little path, going away and then coming back. But yeah, so thank you for patience with my style of teaching and sharing. But yeah, here we are. I love being in this Sangat, and I feel your closeness, even though, as I was saying, we are not physically right next to each other. But I feel a certain closeness, and I can feel that I'm being with somebody, and some people are listening, and you are there. And when I see your messages in the chat are also nice to see that, we are having an interaction, right? Because that's the thing. If we are just sitting in silence, at least we know we are all together. But if we are, if we are talking, that's easier to see that we are connected. So Dark King says, who knows, in future we evolve beyond the means to talk. We will just connect through consciousness. Oh, absolutely. I totally think that. I think, okay, I'm going to go wild now, all right? Because there's always predictions at the end of the year for what's coming, right? On the next year and so on. I'm not going to say next year, but look, if we look like 100 years ago and you wanted to talk to, let's say I wanted to talk to you, Dark King, right? I would have to, maybe 150 years, right? A bit longer. I would have to write a letter, which would take me some time, yeah? And then post the letter, I would have to know where you are. And then some guy, some messenger would have to come with a horse, pick up the letter, and bring it all over to you. And it would take probably weeks, right? Depending on where you are in the world, but it would take weeks, or it could take more than that. And that's like 150 years ago, it was like this. 100 years ago, it was like this. We still had letters when I was younger. We still used letters to communicate. I remember being in the university. There was the 95. And sending letters to my friends, like handwritten letters. That's so rare today. But look, in no time at all, we went from letters to telegraph and telegrams, right? Like almost instantaneous movement of information from one place to another. Then online becomes available to everyone, and then emails appear, right? Now you can write an email and it will come to somebody's inbox, and they would connect to the internet in their computers, and then they would read their emails and respond you in a few days. So we went for a few weeks in a few days. You could do a phone call, which is immediately, yeah, but not everybody was at home because there were no mobile phones back then. I'm talking about the 70s or 80s, when the phones were just starting, satellite phones at that time. If you look at how long it took to communicate to people from 2,000 years ago to 100 years ago to 50 years ago to 10 years ago. The curve, this is not a straight line. It's an exponential curve of immediacy, right? Of this availability. And social media, which exploded not so long ago, made it so that we are constantly available at all times. And it looks like I can just say something and immediately, if I have your WhatsApp, then you're going to get it immediately. And so I feel like this social media is just becoming like a crutch for our consciousness, for what we will be able to do with our consciousness naturally without requiring that. But technology is just supplying what we cannot yet do through our consciousness. It can happen occasionally that you have a feeling. You're saying, Darkin, you're saying that people say a lot of things about 2030. Yeah. But there's always been prediction. There's always been how do you say this? Not just predictions, but prophecies, right? What is prophecies? Yeah, what's going to come? But if we look at the evolution of humans, and we were talking about connected through consciousness, so the evolutions of humans and human consciousness, you may have all experienced this moment when you have a feeling and when somebody needs your help, maybe a good friend of yours, or maybe a brother or a sister or a mother. Twin people, twin brothers or sisters have especially strong connection like this. Something that science cannot explain at all, right? But you know the feeling and you know what it means, and when you have it that this is very clear, that there's something particular happening. So if we can tune into that, we could communicate in that way. And I feel like technology is just being a bridge to what sometime in the future it will just be natural, that we could just communicate through consciousness. But of course, that's just like a fantasy, right? It's just looking too far into the future and a fantasy. But I can imagine, the gurus sending information to us and we picking it up. In this course I was doing about the mind, saying like the mind is like a radio, but somehow it's really difficult to tune into particular radio waves. So maybe you are thinking something right now, how can I tune into that? It's so subtle, it's so difficult. Even though, some people can train to do it. Although, at the same time, why should we train to do that? I can imagine that we could now work hard for this. And if we dedicated like for the following 10 years to meditate on that, tuning into that subtle frequency of other people, we could learn to read minds, we could learn to communicate from mind to mind. But look, you dedicated 10 years, 15 years, 20 years of your life just to develop that capacity, which, that's very much like a siddhi, like a spiritual power. And we know what siddhis are, right? They are hindrance. They are something like the last attachment that we need to get rid of, right? In the Yoga Sutras, it's spoken about in the previous to last chapter, right? So this is like one of the last steps to get rid of when we have the three granthis, the three knots, the knot of material attachment, the knot of emotional attachment, and the knot of spiritual attachment. In the third knot, Rudra knot, in the third eye, that's one of the things that happen. You start having spiritual powers. And we could say that just reading minds or even communicating through the mind, it's like a power. Now, as I said, that it's probably in some distant future, humanity will just be able to do that without the need for any technology. But at the same time, until we get there, if we get there, what would be the point of us now training ourselves to get there? Because if you spend 20 years doing that, those are 20 years that you are not working on yourself, dealing with your ego, your mind games, and you're doing some stable practice that is going to actually help you to liberate yourself. And in a way, that's kind of like wasted. Same with, for example, reading auras, right? If it is natural to you, if it's your natural ability, and you can just incorporate it into your destiny in somehow. Let's say you are a healer, right? And seeing the aura of somebody can give you some insight into what could be the problem, and it can help you in your healing practice, then why you do? Nothing to say about that. And we can all see auras. There's no problem about that. But do you want to train yourself to do that? How long is it going to take you, and how much energy are you going to put into that? And is that actually going to help you to your liberation? Isn't that time spent better in a different way? And also, the moment that you start having this perception, if it wasn't natural to you because you work hard for it, you get a lot of attachment to that. And with attachment comes also fascination. Like, wow, I can see auras. What are you going to do with that? What's the point of seeing auras? Auras change all the time. And when I say auras, it could be Akashic records, or it could be something else. Yeah? Dark King, I would like to hear what all prophecies you have collaged, especially the ones you believe will happen, maybe a video about just this. I don't like to do prophecies or things like that. However, I am a numerologist, so there is a certain number of qualities that are linked to the numbers of 224, 2024. So I think that would be a nice idea. Okay, Dark King, I'm going to take you on that. And we will improvise something in the beginning of next year. I'm going to be on holidays, by the way, until the 7th of January, because it's the 6th of January. The night of the 5th to the 6th is one of the biggest holidays in Spain. We celebrate where the 3 wise kings come, right? And they bring presents to the children. So I'm going to be with my daughters celebrating that, and I'm going to be with the family until there. So after that, on that following week, I will tune in, and then we will talk about 2024 and the numbers, right? And let's just open. However, let me just say, this is not about being prophetical. Numbers have qualities, but the same qualities can go in either way. It can go in either direction. And I mean, it's obvious. If let's say you and I were born in the same day, we have the same numbers, but the numbers can manifest in many ways. So just because we know the number doesn't mean that we know what's going to happen. So for example, let me just give an example. Number 1 is the first number of all. And so number 1 is the number of beginnings, something starting. So somebody with the number 1 may be the friend in the group who is initiating something, right? The one calling and say, hey, let's go to the movies. And then he will initiate, this one, starting something. And then he will move the others to do it. Maybe that person will not even come. They are just the ones who start, right? They will come or not, but they are the ones who have this impulse to start. That's number 1, this impulse, beginning. However, number 1 is also the first number. And the first number is related to the first element. The first element is earth. And of all the 5 tattvas, earth is the more tamasic. Earth is the tattva that is more asleep. Water is in movement. Fire is moving. Air is flowing all the time, right? Like the water in a different way. And the ether is vibrating. Earth is still, stable, right? Those are the qualities. Strong, ST, yeah? Strong, stable, still, sometimes stuck. Those are qualities of number 1. So if you have the number 1 in your date of birth, you may be more stable and still, and maybe even asleep. So you see somebody with the number 1 is getting the impulse for people to move and do things. Other people with number 1 are more like, don't move me, I'm very fine where I am, and falling asleep. Let's take the number 9, for example, on the other extreme, right? Because 10 is already 2 numbers, right? 1 and 0. But 9 is the last digit. So number 9, and 10 is also, because it's a circle, it's a special, right? Circles have always symbolized perfection because they have no angles. And And so perfection is something that we associate to God. So the number 10 we associate to God. Today is 28. So the energy of the number 10 is very present today. Yeah. The circle, generally we would see it in the sun. You know, if we would look thousands of years ago, humans would see a perfect circle when you would see the sun. So they would attribute qualities of God to the sun. That's why the sun would be like revered and treated like it was a god. So, all right, so if 10 is God, if 10 is perfection, if 10 is this absolute perfection, number 9, you can take it in two ways. When you get to number 9, after having gone through the whole steps by step, 1, 2, 3, 4, to get to the 9, when you get to the 9, it's like, I'm almost there, I'm almost close to the 10. And there could be a like, come on, where is it? Why doesn't it come? Come on, I'm not reaching to the 10 yet. So it could be a certain impatience. So number 9, that is so close to perfection, but not yet, it could be a perfectionist and an impatient intolerant about the little things that are not perfect yet. But another number 9, another person with having been born with a number 9 in the date of birth, they may live that 9 like, I did this long journey, 1, 2, 3, 4 to get to 9. I'm almost there, and I can relax because 10 is coming. So number 9 can also be relaxed. So you see, it can be impatient and it can be patience. So the same thing when we take the numbers of the date of birth is the same thing that when we take the numbers of a year, for example. If we want to take the 2024 and we want to explore the numbers of the year, we have to talk about both sides, the dharmic and the karmic, the virtue and the virus. We have to talk about how the number 2 and the 4 and the 24, which is 6, and 224, which is 8, how are those qualities could manifest in both directions. Still, you know, even though it's not like precisely saying this is what's going to happen, knowing those qualities are going to give us some clarity, some insight into what comes, and it could be useful to know what's coming to deal with that. So Sophia says, please add numerology to your offerings here. I would like to learn that. Absolutely. This is one of my highest priorities for this channel because I have a few passions in life. One is mantras. And mantra is kind of part of yoga, but let's imagine that mantras is one and yoga is another, even though mantras is like a subsection of yoga. And another part of it is numerology. I have another one which is more in a meditative, like a silent space for healing. But let's stay with this, right? So numbers are, to me, one of the pillars of who I am and myself and my practice. So when I am thinking about all these diagrams that I draw for you, numbers are always there. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just didn't put them here, but this is what they are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so we will, at some point, as soon as we start, and here they are more explicit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but still they are very much in the background. I didn't mention numbers so clearly. Here, there's 1, that would be the reptilian, 2 would be the limbic, emotions, 3 would be the primates, and family, forming, and society, and things like that. 4 would be the human. In chakras, this is the heart. There is a lot of things to connect, a lot of things to explore through numbers. And I'm very excited that this is, we're going to start doing that very soon. But I felt like, because at the beginning when I started with mantra yoga. I think I mentioned that somewhere. And then I came in contact with my spiritual teacher, Satsang Singh, with numbers. And those fascinated me because I always liked numbers, even from a mathematical point of view. I studied engineering, so I like math. However, in order to go to the numerology trainings with Shiv, we would do sadhana, and the sadhana would be a Kundalini yoga practice, and we would do meditations and kriyas, and this was all Kundalini yoga. So I could not learn numbers without Kundalini yoga. So I actually became a yogi, a Kundalini yogi, more as a side effect, more than that was not my intention. But then as I went deeper into yoga, I felt the guru hukam, the hukam of the guru, clearly guiding me towards becoming a teacher and a trainer. Then trainer of teachers of level 1, then of level 2, now level 3. It's like I have been guided all the way to be a trainer for yoga, and I have been accumulating a lot of understanding and teachings from yoga, and I have always been putting them in relationship to the numbers, but I have my teaching numbers has been more in the background in the last 10 years. But if we look back 15 years ago, I was teaching numerology courses much more than yogi courses. So you see, life is changing. However, I feel that now in this YouTube channel that we are sharing, that I have the chance to bring. I've been putting out a lot of what I know from yoga, and now I have the chance to start bringing the numbers and connecting it and see how the numbers can inform us better on how to understand the yogic teachings, and it can bring us a lot of clarity. So absolutely, Sophia, this is coming. It's definitely coming for the new year. This is one of my biggest priorities here for the new year. And I will start with a very, very, sorry, it's getting a bit cold. I'm going to start with a very light introduction to it, very much like I did an introduction to mantras. And then we will start connecting probably everything we have been talking up until now from the point of view of sound, from the point of view of yogic teachings on the mind, or whatever other things that I'm going to be doing at the same time with the numbers. So if we go to sound, I just made an example before. I said ST, strong, straight, still, stable. This is all very much connected to number 1, actually to 1 and 9, because 1 and 9 are connected. I put in the example of the number 1, who was very calm and sometimes sleepy, and number 9, I said he was impatient but also peaceful. So peacefulness and sleep come together. So there's no coincidence that 1 and the 9 are together. And there's no coincidence because 1 and 9, if you add them, they give 10. So if 10 is the number of perfection, in order to get to 10, you need to join 1 and 9. So 1 and 9 are going to be connected, right? So it works like this, but it's so simple and so intuitive in many ways. The thing that I liked about numbers, the way I learned from Shiv Chan Singh, is that, okay, this is not comfortable. Let me just take it off. The way I learned it is so intuitive, because you don't have to study a long list of words that are associated to numbers. Like this is number 1, this is number 2, this is number 3. No, not at all. We study numbers through nature, study nature through numbers. So if you observe in nature, when there is one thing, the qualities of number 1 are present there. If we study nature, when 2 things appear, the qualities of number 2 are present there. So by just paying attention to nature and being a little bit open to it and meditative, then the qualities just appear. And that's, for me, that's what I love about numbers, that they just would happen like that, naturally. So yes, Sophia, we're going to go into numbers. Many things to come into for the next year. Yeah, many things coming up. It's exciting, but I'm always, in these videos, you heard me many times probably like, oh, and that's a topic for another video, right? I mean, I am doing it. Yeah, the videos are coming out and we are exploring it. But it's like every time we touch upon one thing, like you could branch out and we could go into any of one of these directions and we could spend many hours. So which direction should we choose? That's the most challenging for me when I am here doing a video, is like, I need pruning, right? Somebody who is like pruning. That's why I ask you in the chat to say what you are interested about, so we can talk about that. Because otherwise, where am I gonna go today? This could be like branching out in many ways. But yeah, this last year has been great. It has been a lovely experience to be. The channel has been growing, and the community is being created. I feel like there's a community of us who are connecting every time. And Waheguru, yes, Sophia, Waheguru, yes, and this is a very nice feeling for me. And yeah, expect more for the new year. So if anybody has some particular topic or something that you would like to explore today, please say it in the chat. Because as I mentioned, today is a free day. We don't have anything planned for today. And we can just go in any direction. I was just, while you write in the chat what you would like to talk about, I've been going through this diagram that I drew on Tuesday. And because I need to prepare the thumbnail for it. And I'm going to draw it like one line going through the front, one line going through the back. And I think it's going to look much better. After doing it, I felt like I can improve this diagram. And so we're going to do the karmic reaction through the back and the dharmic reaction through the front of the life cycle of a thought. So the karmic life cycle and the dharmic life cycle. So expect to see a nice diagram with this in the thumbnail for the video. That I still need to cut what we did on Tuesday and put it in the mantra course where it should be. It takes some time, to cut it and edit. The editor from YouTube is not fantastic, so I cut some place, but it moves a few seconds. Then I have to put subtitles, and I do a thumbnail and so on. So it takes a while, but I think that diagram will be good. And quite a few people have asked me to share these diagrams so that they could print them, and I'm still considering how to do that. And I think I'm gonna make it available in some way for next year. So yeah. Okay, a few messages. Dark King, Tantra. Just Tantra? Okay, Sophia, curious on how to find a spiritual teacher. How does that happen organically? Oh, okay. Let's talk about that. Dark King also says how it works, especially through Chaitanya. Oh, okay. And Dark King, just through consciousness, how it happens. From me, Tantra is a black box. Okay, while I talk about Sophia's point, Dark King, tell me what it is for you and how do you relate to Tantra? How is Tantra for you? Some people understand it in different ways, and I would like to hear your vision. And not just you, anybody who is here connected. Tell me what you know about Tantra, because actually I don't know that much. I will share what I know in a minute, but please, everyone, I would like to learn more about it. So tell me what it is for you. What does the word mean? And yeah, tell me more about that. In the meantime, I will talk about Sophia's point that she was saying, how to find a spiritual teacher. I'll tell you how it was for me. My first teacher was Raman Mahari. He taught me mantras. And he was the one who was telling me, in the first stage of a practitioner, you go guru shopping, right? So it's like window shopping for gurus. So you go around, you go to many teachers, and you find which is the one that resonates to you the most. But it's funny because I was doing mantras with him for over a year, and I was very close to. I'm very close to. I still feel very close to him. I find him such a loving teacher, and well, I never received a hug from his hugs, I have to say. So it was quite shocking for me to realize that Shiv Charan would be my teacher. It was actually quite surprising because I had been doing mantras for a few years. I think it was for 2 years. And then when I was gonna go to India for a few months with my mantra teacher, Raman Mahari. Ramana Baba as well. That's his spiritual name. And just before going, like the previous week, I had a consultation with Shiv Charan Singh, who I had a few consultations with, and always very profound and very transforming. And the consultation I had with him, during the consultation, I had a moment of absolute clarity that he was my teacher. And that confused me as hell because, well, I was expecting Masmari to be my teacher. And somehow I just knew it. It's difficult to tell you, Sophia, how to find a spiritual teacher. I would say, go find many teachers. And it's also it's a paradox because sometimes it is said you don't find the spiritual teachers finds you. That was something that it used to be said a lot, but that I think that's changed. You see, that was the Piscean age. Now we're in the Aquarian age. And in the Piscean age, the roles have reversed. Let's listen to this for a moment. In the Piscean age, you would be walking around in the supermarket and your spiritual teacher would trick you and or trip you, put the leg and then you fall to the ground and you were supposed to recognize him and, wake up from the ground and you could be indignant and angry and shout a few words or realize, oh, wow, who is this guy? This is it. This is the one that's going to be my teacher. And then you would ask for him to be your teacher and then he would ask you to go to the ashram, and then when you go to the ashram, he would ask you to brush the steps of the ashram for 2 years before he would let you in. No, then when you get in, you would do 2 years of just cooking before he would let you practice the sun salutation or whatever, right? So it's in the old times, the teacher would choose you, and if you said no, if a teacher says, you are my disciple, right? And you say, I'm not going to do that. That was bad karma for you. But the things have changed now. And if this is a current age and there is so much availability. And Sophia says there isn't a directory. Well, actually, there isn't, but you can go to Google and there's a lot of spiritual teachers everywhere. There's lots of associations which do spiritual gatherings, right? In Mallorca, there is a magazine where there is all the spiritual things that are happening in the island every month, right? And there is this healing with that thing, and then Tibetan chants with that other teacher, and then there is yoga with the other one, meditation with this one, and there is a lot of offers, of people teaching, which is really nice to see. That this has exploded. We need a lot of this in the planet. So there is a lot of offering, but now things have reversed. So if a student goes to a teacher and says, "You are my spiritual teacher," the teacher cannot say no, because then that's very bad karma for the teacher now. We cannot reject somebody from access to the teachings. You see, before in the olden times, the teachings were private, sacred, and secret. So in a way, it was to protect the person because maybe you weren't ready to access those teachings. But everything has changed since 2011, the 11th of November, more or less, around that time. There's been a big change in the planet. And even before that, look, before the yogis were only in the caves or in their ashrams. And in order to access them, you had to be, brush the steps of the ashram for 20 years, or maybe not so 20 years, but maybe 3, 4, 5 years. And maybe the guru would say, no, that's not for you in this life. Come back in the next life. So it was really difficult. But, 1890, what was it? The year that Vivekananda went to the United Nations and he gave his talk and he started to talk about yoga. And then we have Shivananda's school bringing yoga openly to everyone, Yogananda in 1920s, and we have so many teachers. Now, all the information is open in the internet. You go to Guru Google, everything is there. Go to Guru Google, everything is there. So this is not the time for secrets anymore, which means that if somebody is asking you to teach them, how can you say no and reject their access to the teachings? That would be bad karma on you. But at the same time, when in the olden times a teacher would take a student, they would have a certain contract in which part of the responsibility of what happens with the student would be fall upon the teacher. This is like in these old Chinese movies when there is like a sword fighting, right? And then one of the students of the teacher becomes evil, right? And they start doing massacres or whatever. And then somebody's going to come to the teacher to ask for responsibilities. And the teacher is responsible for what the students become. So in the old times, there is a certain amount of karma that the teacher takes from the student. That's why the teachers have to be careful what student to take. But as I mentioned, that the roles have reversed now, and the student chooses the teacher does not take any karma from the student anymore. But then again, the teacher is just there to teach, and then the student can follow it or not. Then that's their responsibility. All right, I'm falling behind with the messages. Let me read that. Fernando says, Saddam Fernando, hello, welcome. Is it possible that a substance like daime will help you find a spiritual guide in the astral realm? Does finding a guide in the astral dimension frees one from having a physical guru? Oh my goodness, that's quite a question. First, I don't know what daime is. Can you tell me what daime is? I'm not sure what that means. But when I talk about spiritual guide, I don't mean in the astral realm. I mean in this realm, in this life, in this world, with a human person that you can talk to and you can relate to, and it is going to guide you. I don't think you have to take any substance, actually, to find the person that is for you. I read somewhere, there is an absolute guarantee that at least once in this life, you're going to meet your teacher. So there is a guarantee, like a spiritual guarantee, that at least once you're going to meet that teacher. So if you are awake enough, then you can recognize that. But that's going to happen here by your own means. I don't believe in any substance for anything. Ayahuasca. I didn't know that name. Okay, so that means ayahuasca. Ayahuasca is a drug. And like all drugs, they open doors that we generally don't have access to, if we are not at that level of consciousness. So the problem with opening a door that you are not yet ready for is that then two things can happen. One, you may want to come back to that place again and again, and you may need that drug to go there. And second is that sometimes the door gets open and then doesn't close. And then you lose the permeability of some layers up here. Permeability is, to be able to choose what comes in and what doesn't. So I am a firm believer that it is within everyone's capacity to reach to your higher self, by yourself, from within, without the need of anyone to initiating you and lifting your Kundalini, activating your Kundalini, giving you a drug to open your consciousness, any of that. I don't think so. You say, I live in a place where I find it virtually impossible to find a guru. Well, I'm aware that I've missed a few messages. I will come back to that. Hold on a second. And we're just following this line. First, guru is guru, right? Guru is like like almost divine being, yeah, or divine being already. Let's say you are virtually impossible to find a teacher, a spiritual teacher. Well, okay, that happens. Maybe you live in a place that is difficult to find a physical teacher. Well, then you have the internet at least, and you can find nowadays. Fortunately, one of the good things that came as a result of the whole COVID lockdown situation, because that was quite a big karma for the planet, but there is no karma without dharma, yin and yang. One of the nice things that were as a result of that is that many teachers have moved online. And so it is not particularly difficult to find good teachers online. And so, you can find many teachers, and someday, coming back to what Sophia was asking, someday maybe you will feel it in your heart. And maybe it will be a shock, like my case with Shiv Charan, because I was expecting something else. Or maybe it will be simple and easy, and you will just recognize, oh, that person is my spiritual teacher. But then when you commit. That's it. When you commit to a spiritual teacher, that's one commitment for life. You create a kind of contract that is different from the kind of contracts that nowadays is like when you get married. It's such a soft contract that, so many people get divorced. But when you create a contract of declaring, this is my spiritual teacher, that becomes like a soul contract. So I would rather, make sure that when you commit when you are ready to do that. And guru, you choose the guru. You choose who is the divine one that is going to represent the highest thing. No, and that you can choose for what's more closer to you. Satnam John, hello, welcome. We are deep into conversation here. But I need to go back a few comments to see if we can address some of the things we were talking. Okay, so we will go back to the point of Tantra now, which we left behind. Sophia, I hope I answered your question about there is no directory to find the teacher and so on. So you will feel it within. You will know it when you feel it. Until then, don't worry. Just learn from as many teachers as you want. Practice whatever you want. It will be easier if you stick to one practice, because if you are trying to do like different kinds of paths at the same time, many of them are incompatible. So, or like it's like, 2 legs, one in every ski, and the skis open up and you start doing the, this posture with the 2 legs, one to each side, because some take you in a different direction. It's not that they don't go to the same mountain peak, right? You're in the mountain, you have to climb to the highest peak, and maybe every path goes there, but some take a different route. And maybe some are faster, maybe not. Maybe some seem to go up, but then start to go down. So just sticking to one practice is best. Choose one that you feel aligned with. You can dabble in here and there, and you can learn from here and there, but then having one practice is probably better, no? And again, with the concept of the drugs, everything is within us, and we all have the capacity to get there without the need for anything around us. Also, particularly, Fernando, let me just catch up one little thing before we go into Tantra. Ayahuasca, I believe it used to be a spiritual thing linked to a certain path, being shamanism. And it within that context, within that culture, within that place, it probably made sense. And it had its own ritual, but also its own devotion aspect and so on. To me, like here, you can go in the city, in a weekend, go and take ayahuasca. But, with the pollution and with the whatever is around you, this is not the jungle. This is not Brazil. This is not... And who is shaman there? Somebody who has just learned from somebody else? And is that like a true shamanistic practice and line? And I'm not sure. Personally, I recommend just to open the doors of our consciousness through our own effort. It's easier if we get somebody to do it for us, but why would you want that? If it's your right to get there by your own effort, we don't need anything external to get there. So I was just addressing that. Sophia said, I'm committed to Kundalini Yoga for the last 10 years and keep at it. Wahuru, wonderful. Then that's it. Welcome, welcome to the path. I'm very connected to Kundalini Yoga, although I say always, I have a lot of influences from other places. That's why I try to connect and see how Kundalini Yoga has this connection to this oldest tradition. Yeah, but yeah, let's go into Tantra now. Well, Fernando said, I go to a church which is directly linked to the original thing. I live in Brazil. Well, all right. Then, Fernando, I don't know. Maybe if it's in your culture and you find... There's also many who call themselves true shamans, but how many of those are real? So if you found the real thing and it makes sense to you and you want to do it, look, it's your life and you choose what you want to do with it. I said my take personally is that we can all reach any state of consciousness by our own effort. But that's my particular take on that. Yeah. So going to Tantra, let's see. Let's go back. Dark King says, Tantra, as people say, is protecting body, but for me, I believe that one can make changes by making changes within, as one learns to travel through various worlds. Mantra would not be the only way to see this. Can just mere focus and consciousness applied through will can make it happen. Yes, yeah. Cities can happen in any way, and you can have a city without doing anything, just because of maybe what you practiced in a previous life. It can just come to you. Fernando says, I agree with you. What Neuro? Well, why you? And we agree. Wonderful. Yeah. I am careful with any drug, yeah? And even sugar. Sugar is a drug as well. So anything that alters my consciousness, I stay away from that. I haven't drunk alcohol. I haven't eaten meat for a long time. I don't like anything that can alter my consciousness. And I am very protective of that. So, yeah. So can just mere focus and consciousness applied through will can make the cities happen? Yes, indeed. And cities can just be like a particular gift for whatever you happen into practice in a previous life. You can just come into this life with this gift, and it's natural to you, and so there's no problem with that. Like I mentioned before, maybe you already see auras, or maybe you already have a strange connection that you can have a perception of what people's Akashic records are. So if that's already natural, then maybe it's part of your destiny to utilize that in service of whatever has to come in your destiny, right? So you can put it into that context, right? Always that into service with something else. To go looking for cities when they are not manifesting, that's a dangerous thing, because that's addicting. That can be like a drug. So that's addicting, and that's not the final purpose. So again, if we spend 15 years developing a city, what's the point if we can do 15 years of meditation for our own liberation? So you were saying Tantra as a people, protecting the body, but for me, I believe that one can make changes without by making changes within. Yes, traveling through various worlds. Yes, totally agree. Latika, Sophia likes Guru Google. Latika, just looking at chakras, tantric Bij mantras, they have the R in it, like Ram, Hrim, Ram. Ra is fire, Vedic version is Ham. The nasal sound is the ether element. Yes. So regarding that point, the way I learned it from Masmari is all the Bija sounds for the chakras, Lam, Vam, Ram. You can also just change the M with an NG as well. Apart from the R that you mentioned, which is the fiery thing, you can also just change the M with the NG, the nasal sound that you're mentioning. Yeah, the ether being the nasal sound. So instead of doing like lum, 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 the tantric version would be lung, 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 lung. And it's a subtle difference, but if we were to chant it for quite a bit, for a few minutes, you would feel it's much more powerful. And I think not everybody is ready to go to that level of power, so it's better to start with a softer version before we go into the tantric version of that sound. What else we have on Tantra in the chat? So tantric practices deal with various types of fire elements to attain their goals. I don't know. Is it just fire element? Latika, do you know, does it not, do they not connect to the other tattvas? Is it just through the fire? I think there is a lot of fire, but I'm not sure whether it's just the fire. Dark King says, Gyan already exists. One needs not learn it. One can just illuminate it within oneself. Yes, I think it's similar to this concept I don't know if it was Osho saying we are already enlightened. We just don't know we are, and we need to find out. Yes, it's true. And in our, it's like our soul by itself is pure, and it's pure light, and there is no sin or anything tainting it. At the same time, are we connected to that? Are we connected so clearly within that we can just illuminate ourselves from within? Do we have that clarity, Dark King? Because when we go within, we hear many voices. And I'm not sure we can always recognize the voice of that light shining within. I have another topic. I don't know if I should mention it, but I have another topic that I'm passionate about, and someday we will go into it. When we go within, we hear the voice of our intelligence, of our intellect, of our instinct, of our intuition. This is 4 different voices, and sometimes we confuse them. And I'm not even mentioning the ego here. So when you go within, who are you listening to? And how do you know it's that one? How did you learn to recognize that? Because very, 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 very often, when we go within, what we hear is our ego. And our ego can go disguised by, it makes itself look like some divine thing. The mind is really powerful. And some of the fantasies and projections of the ego, they appear to be like angelic design. And, like, I don't know, somewhere they say Satan will dress as an angel, when he comes to visit you. So I agree, all the wisdom is within. I agree that there is a great teacher within that we need to discover. Some people understand that when we're doing Om Namo Gurudev Namo, we're calling to the teacher within. And I agree with all that, but at the same time, can we recognize that voice in the middle amidst all the other voices which can be quite distracting within us? So that's something to bear in mind, I believe. What are the messages did I miss? Somehow that screen has frozen. Okay. Latika says they do, but since their bodies are strong with Miladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipura, they channel fire energy. I have more ether and air, so it's easier for me to do Laya Yoga. All right. A tantric person has to learn to manage fire energy. John says, I do the 5 Tibetan rites. Yeah, great. When you say the Tibetan rites, do you mean the 5 Tibetans, those which are like physical practices? Or otherwise, which are the rites? Which are the 5 rites, John? Can you describe them? Latika says, a tantric person trying to attain liberation will begin with fire. They have to balance all 5. Is that all branches of Tantra, Latika? So what I had understood from Tantra is that there is a few branches of that. And let me mention what I learned from Mas Mahari, then what I learned from Shiv Charang on Tantra, and there could be much more. Mas Mahari used to say that in the olden times, there was a power structure linked to the teachings. Meaning that if you were not born in the right caste, through the caste system in India, you could not have access to the teachings. So there was like different castes, like there is a Brahmin, and then there is like those who do commerce, and those who are like there's all these ones, no, all the way down to the untouchables, right, to the bottom of the pit. And if depending on which caste you are born into, you would not be able to read these and understand, or maybe even understand the teachings. Vedic practice was something ritualized. It became something static and something that you do to, get clear of your sins or things like that, similar to what maybe you would go 100 years ago to the church here within a Catholic church, and you would find the priest, and he would be speaking Latin. You don't understand anything. And if you want to get, forgiven your sins, you have to give some money to the church and ask for absolution and things like that. So in the old times, when this high caste system, the caste system got appropriated with the teachings, and they decided that, look, if you are not from the right caste, you cannot have access to it. A number of people rebelled against this, and the tantric tradition started with this. They would disagree with this idea, this position, and they would feel that everybody had access to it, also women, which is something quite revolutionary at that time. John says Latika tantric. No, we already read that. Oh yeah, Latika says a tantric person trying to attain liberation will begin with fire. They have to balance all five. Okay. John says the physical. Oh yeah, the physical, the Tibetan. Yeah, I've done the five Tibetans. They are really nice. I think it's a really complete movement of the body, a good preparation for meditation. So that's really lovely. Yeah, good for sharing, John. So the tantrics, when the tantra started, they decided that they were going to speak to anyone, and they were going to make the teachings available to anyone. But that was forgiven. Forgiven? Forgiven, not forgiven. That was, how is it say? Oh, my English. That was, is it forgiven? Like you shouldn't do that. Yeah? Like if you do that, you are committing a crime or something. Forgiving is like forgiving. I'm making a mess in my head right now. I don't know where I am. Forbidden, that's the word. Somebody's in the chat writing forbidden for sure now. All right, so forbidden is oh yeah, here it comes. Stan writes it, forbidden. Yeah, thank you, Stan. Sorry, it's not my first language, English, right? Anyway, that's just excuses. So because it was forbidden and the tantric wanted to open it up, a branch of them, they decided to encode it in a way that it would be secret for somebody else reading it. So they created, how did they encode it? They encoded it with sexual terms. So they would be speaking about the man and the woman having coitus, joining each other in sex. But actually, what they would be talking about is, and they would be talking about a particular posture that they should be doing. But what they were talking about is how the tongue and the mouth should be moving. The mouth is an empty hole, an empty space, so it would represent the woman. And the tongue is a phallus, it would represent the man. So some of the ways, they would be talking about how to chant the mantra or how to press the tongue in one point or another. And they would codify it in sexual terms so that anybody from the outside looking in, they would say, oh, these pervert guys. And they would just ignore them rather than, because it was forbidden, put them in jail or something, right? Or cut their heads, whatever. Because they were disclosing some sacred things and secret things. So there was a revolutionary movement, and they started coding it like that. But then some people start to take it literally, and then they started practicing this as a literal way through sex. So that was how some of the branches started to appear, the red branch and the white branch, and then there is a black branch as well, which is taking the teachings from the tantric teachings, which were expounding upon the Vedas, and then later on also combining it with deeper teachings and deeper explanations of the teachings like the Upanishads and some other texts from then. They would take that and utilize it to gain cities and to gain powers and maybe occult powers, and maybe even using it to curse someone or things like that. That would be the black branch of Tantra. I'm mixing kind of what I learned from Masmari, from what I learned from Chief Charan, but in a way it's like there is these three, and maybe there is even more, because I've also heard of Tantra being expressed like the left hand side of Tantra and the right hand side of Tantra. So I think there is probably many ways to look at this. And again, I'm not a historian. I haven't researched this much in detail. This is just what I've heard. So if you know more about this, you can express it, right? But I believe that the original ones, those who were trying to open up the teachings to anyone, even though they were encoding it so that nobody would know, they probably they were having the same goal of liberation as we are having right now. Now, for those of you who practice Kundalini Yoga is associated to white Tantra, so that's the white line. And when we do white Tantra Yoga, then we sit in rows, knees to knees touching, and generally we respect the polarity of the energy, so a man in front of a woman, if possible. But then we don't do anything sexual. We are just meditating and looking into the eyes of somebody else. And the thing is, when you look into somebody's eyes, we're generally not very used to doing that in our society. We hold eyesight, eye contact, we hold it for a few seconds and then we move away because it's kind of uncomfortable socially. But in meditation, you look deep into someone's eyes and there is a deeper connection to the soul, and then you are seeing your reflection as well. You're meditating with the other, but you're meditating with yourself and meditating with anybody else. And there could be thousands of people all doing the same meditation at the same time. And there's meditations very deep, maybe the arms up, maybe chanting a mantra, generally 31 minutes, 62 minutes. So this is the white yogic practice that is associated to the Kundalini Yoga path as taught by Yogi Bhajan right now, the one that is that side. That's not the only practice of Tantra. There's other practices of Tantra that come from older traditions, not from Yogi Bhajan. But again, some of them will be red, some of them will be white, some of them will be black, and maybe something else. So I don't know enough to discuss more about this. Dark King, you were the one who initiated the topic about Tantra. So after all this that I said, does it does it sit with you? Does it correspond to what you understand about Tantra? Or? Tell us where you are right now. But yeah, I would take it like that. And the red part of Tantra, the sexual aspect, I think that's quite nice as well. That's quite beautiful when it's a couple. If you have a couple and you want to relate to them, why not in your sexual life as well relate spiritually? Why does sexuality have to be an exclusion of spirituality? Why not incorporate it and therefore see the divine within the other? But yeah, I have to be careful when I hear about these tantric retreats, because I've heard all sorts of stories, right, of people who go to these retreats. So I don't want to go into that. So, Dark King, you say, yes, but why do Vaishnavis chastise Tantra? I don't know. Why do they do it? I don't know. I don't know. You're going to have to tell us. I don't know about this topic. Sorry. I've read the Kundalini Tantra book from the Shivananda school. That's quite a nice, very interesting book. And the practices are quite powerful. But I would say if you're going to practice Tantra, and particularly I would recommend one of the white aligned Tantras, find a teacher as usual. Don't just do it by yourself. I personally started doing those Kundalini Tantra practices from that book by myself because they are very much classic practices like Tratakam and things like that. And they were too powerful and I was not ready and I didn't have guidance. So I would say find a teacher first. I have seen Vaishnavis often talk bad about Tantra. What do they say about it? What is it bad that they say about Tantra? I would like to know what exactly. And what Tantra? Because, the black side of Tantra, that's quite dark. There is a lot of dark things out there. There's yogis who, what was it called? There is a branch of yoga where they go to cemeteries and they sit on top of corpses and they meditate on death. And there is a lot of dark stuff over there and very powerful. And you there is a lot of power in the darkness. And I think it's very healthy to relate to our own shadow. But there is a black magic, like you're saying, Dark King. Yeah, black magic. Yes, exactly. So that would be the black side of Tantra. Yeah, that would be black Tantra. And yes, that's a dangerous path to take. I wouldn't call that a spiritual path. I would say that's utilizing spiritual tools for whatever. Agori, it just came to my mind now, the name. Agori yoga, Agora yoga, Agoris, the Agoris. Pretty dark things. And maybe there is one branch of the Agoris who are very spiritual and they take in for their own liberation. But it, pretty strange things. I think even what's his name? Yogi Rama's teacher, I think he was an Agori. And I heard some funny stories from that. I'm not going to go into that right now. I don't want to blacken the conversation. But yeah, they say it's black magic or something. I am into Kriya Yoga. When they hear Kriya, they think black magic. Oh, really? All right. Yeah, the Agora. Yeah. Yeah, John, exactly. Yeah. I think it's written with an H before the O. Aghora. And the ones who practice it are called Agoris. My sister has some books on them. I think three volumes. And also I'm just judging them from the outside because I don't know what they do really. And to me, it just feels weird to go to a cemetery and sit on top of a skeleton to meditate. But at the same time, because I always try to see both sides, at the same time, look, we are avoiding our shadow. And by avoiding our shadow, we get into trouble a lot in our society. And we pretend we are so pure and so light. And then in private, when we close our doors, then we do all sorts of pervert things or whatever. So who is free from any darkness? I don't think no one is. But if we pretend it doesn't exist and we close the door to that, then when you go to the underground of a house and you open the trap door, a lot of creepy things grow in the dark. So if we don't go down there every now and then and bring the light of consciousness, then those things multiply. What I mean by this is we all have a subconscious and we all have a shadow within. And we need to bring the light of consciousness and be very frank and very clear about ourselves and face our own darkness and our own demons so that they don't multiply. I think that's healthy and I think that's powerful. There's a lot of power in the darkness. So I don't want to be fully judgmental of the Agoris. I don't know about it. If anybody knows and you would like to inform us, and please do it. Write in the chat or write in the comments of this video when it gets uploaded, and inform us to know more. We share what we know. But yes, indeed, there is a black magic also and there's yogis in India have always, it's not just in the West, we perceive yoga as something very, it has this image of something beautiful and like a wonderful, inspiring thing, yeah? But I know in India at some times and in some people would, when they see a yogi, they would have to be careful. Who is this guy? Where does he come from? What kind of powers does he have? Is he going to bless me or curse me? So, and I think there would be stories of the yogis would coming down from the caves, and then if you don't do what they want, then they could curse you. So, because there's ego everywhere, and spiritual ego is even more stinky than regular ego. And when you go to yoga and you develop your power, you have the power to mess up more powerfully. So if you do yoga, you are more powerful in your messing ups. This is a concept that I have already touched upon a few times. So yeah, we have to be even more careful. But Kriya Yoga, I think that's one of the oldest branches of yoga, if not the oldest, right? Is the yoga, well, that's kind of like Raja Yoga, yeah? Raja Yoga would be, I would say, the original, coming back to the Bhagavad Gita. So Kriya Yoga would be a direct lineage through that. So, King, did you learn Kriya Yoga through the school that initiated Paramahansa Yogananda, or did you learn from somewhere else? And because what we say Kriyas, in Kundalini Yoga, Kriyas, we mean something else. I think the word Kriya means a complete action, something that has been completed. So in Kundalini Yoga, sometimes we talk about Kriyas like a sequence of postures that are complete by themselves, and they have a specific effect. So I wonder about your Kriyas in Kriya Yoga. How do you practice that? I think there is a number of Kriya. There's some Kriyas which are like moving through the chakras, like the planets, and moving the energy and doing revolutions, something like that. But I am not a Kriya yogi, so I would love to know more about that. Latika says spiritual yoga is more stinky. Spiritual ego. Oh yeah, that was a typo. Yes, spiritual ego is more absolutely. Yeah, it's. I don't know how to say that. I mean, I wear the turban because it's helpful to concentrate and to meditate. And in Kundalini Yoga tradition, then, it's associated to being a teacher. But when I first came into contact with Kundalini Yoga, this is something I really didn't like. I would go to the festivals, and I would see people with their turbans were too big, if you know what I mean. Too big turbans. And that's the thing. When you become a teacher, it's so easy. People start listening to you, and maybe you have your words take something of what you are saying. You become a channel, right? So you're saying powerful things, and then there is power in you, and there is some power in your impact, and then people start to look at you funny. But they look at you funny anyway, just because we are wearing white. This is like I said before, this is my uniform, right? You go to the doctor, he's dressed white with his cloth, and then you treat the doctor differently, right? You go to anyone who has a policeman, they have their own uniform. You treat them with a certain respect, and they have certain power by the way you treat them. So there's people who get addicted to that power. So the higher you go, the lower you have to bow. Yeah, this is one of the rules of spiritual teachings. And the roots of the tree have to be strongly attached to the ground. Yeah, we have to be very firmly on the ground. I try not to go too far up, especially in these conversations as well. Always be on the ground, always be very real. Raj Kumar, you keep writing things, but it's not appearing. I wonder if it just appears as a dot to me. I wonder if you are writing in a language that is not recognized by YouTube, or maybe somehow is not appearing, just a dot. So I'm glad to see that you are here and you are present, but I cannot see what you are trying to write. If you are writing in a different language and it's just not appearing, can you use a translator and cut and paste and then write it in English so we can understand you? Thank you. So Willie says, Dr. Robert Swoboda wrote a trilogy on Agora. Oh, that must be it. If anybody's interested to have a deep overview, also has videos and interviews about it. Yeah. I think that's the books that my sister has, yeah. So King says, yes, from Yogananda. I would have a basic question. Would Tantra be considered a tamasic way of sadhana? I mean, tamasic in appearance. Any sadhana is beyond the three gunas. I don't know what you mean about tamasic way of sadhana. And also Tantra is so complete in some ways. I mean, if I'm looking at the Kundalini Tantra book from the Shivananda school, why should it be tamasic? There's lots of practices, postures, meditations, pranayams. That's not tamasic at all. So I would say no, but I'm not sure if you mean that. And if I look at the other, like the tantric, the white tantra yoga from the Kundalini yoga taught by Yogi Bhajan, we sit there and we are meditating maybe 6 hours a day. with deep meditations. That's not really tamasic. That would be more sattvic, I would say. So maybe you need to clarify that. And another thing you say is, yes, through chakras. It's a wonderful world inside, but Guruji does not allow to stay there for long. It can be a trap in itself. Yeah, you mean going inwards is a trap by itself? I would agree with that in the sense that sometimes we go too deep into our caves. We were talking about caves the other day as well, the other week. Sometimes we go too much into our cave, and then whatever we learn there, we don't share it with the world. And this is not the age we are living now to go into caves and disappear from the world. It's the time where whatever we learn to share it. But it's always a balance between going within and going with that. Going inside and sharing it outside. And this has to be always these two dimensions of the practice. That's why Krishna says to Arjuna, there has to be karma yoga, yoga of action. But yoga of action, karma yoga is often, we associate it just to doing service, right? So it's not just going within, but you do service outside of you as well. Because just going within, it's a very self-centered way and possibly egocentric way of practicing just things for myself. What can I do for myself, What power can I get for myself, and so on. So Rajkumar, I saw you tried many times, but couldn't get your message out. I'm wondering what's happening there. Let me just... No, in YouTube, I see the same. I see just dots. So maybe you just want us to go to the point. Okay, here it. The point of life is to become a point of light. There we go. That's what you wanted me to say. So I'm just translating from your messages. The point of life is to become a point of light, light of consciousness, of course. So King, I mean, take Kechari Mudra, for example. People often frown upon it. What are you doing? Put your tongue inside your mouth. What sorcery is this? Yeah. But yeah, putting your leg behind your head, there's so many things in yoga that are just weird, and some of these satkarmas, the cleansing things, eating a cloth. Yeah, we do weird things, yogis. And many of these things, I agree. I mean, do we really need to do many of these things? Sometimes it's unnecessary. But it's a wonderful world. And yeah, some of the yogic teachings are quite weird, I guess. Yeah, it's like a circus trick. But it has a meaning, yeah? It's just that, again, this is like taking drugs, like when we were talking before about taking drugs. Why would we need to cut the tongue to do Kechari Mudra? I mean, if it's in our destiny to do that, we should be able to do that without cutting the tongue. And I think there is a way to do it. I mean, many people learn to get there eventually. Only it's easier to just cut it. And then again, we are too much in a society where we look for the easy path. And come on, the spiritual path is not the easy path. It's not necessarily more difficult, but it's not the easy path. Because the easy path forward is generally a shortcut. And in this case, literally, with the Kechari Mudra, right? But we do shortcuts when we lack discipline and patience. And those two qualities are there because in order to reach the highest place you can get, you're going to need that discipline and the patience. If you go through shortcuts, you may even acquire some particular powers, or you will have some certain experiences, but if you have not cultivated that discipline and that patience, then you're going to get into trouble sooner or later. I will leave it there. Yes. Oh, it's yeah. It's full of paradoxes, the spiritual path. It's like going into the shadow, but bringing the light and spiritual effort. But at the same time, you want to relax, right? So much of our challenges in our society is about being able to relax. And then I'm saying, look, yoga requires some effort. Sometimes it takes an effort to relax. So many paradoxes all the way. Willie says, you mentioned you teacher trainings. Where can one find a way to learn from you? From me, a teacher training from me, Willie? Well, I teach level 1 and level 2s from Kundalini Yoga, and I teach also numerology. Many of the trainings I do are local and face-to-face because I think it's very important to meet face-to-face. So for those ones, you would have to travel to Spain. And if you live nearby, some people live nearby, then I teach trainings in Mallorca and Sevilla, face-to-face. Then online trainings, I'm invited to online trainings quite often. I don't organize any online training myself, but I am present in quite a few of them, mostly organized by my sister and some other colleagues that we have. My sister is also a Kundalini Yoga teacher and teacher trainer, and she organizes trainings. And the ones that she organizes them online. However, most of them are in Spanish. So the trainings that I collaborate in English, they are generally from the outside, and sometimes if somebody's running a level 1, and they invite me for 1 weekend only, right? Only that's 1 weekend. Or maybe a whole level 2. For example, for the last 2021 to 2022, and even 2021, 2022, 2023, no, 2020, 2021, and 2022, I've been teaching level 2 trainings for Kundalini Research International, KRI, and those were all fully online. So in fact, this channel, the YouTube channel, partly appeared because I had the idea that those people who were accessing those trainings online, they needed a place to be able to go farther in their learning, in their practice. Yeah. So you do a level 2 and then you want to go deeper into it, then who do you go to? Yeah, if you don't go to your local teacher. So the appearance of this channel came because I wanted to provide that service, to be there, to be here, to be online. Anybody can connect and they can ask a question and we can just go with it. So in a way, this is a training, really. And I run courses here. So in a way, you are already participating in a training, even though I'm not going to give you a certificate. But who needs a certificate in the age of Aquarius, right? Just something to put on the wall. Is that going to give you any kind of credibility? You can certify yourself, right? So really, you keep coming and you keep watching the videos and, be present and interact. And you don't need a paper on the wall. You're just here. So... But if anybody wants to meet me in person, then I run these trainings in Mallorca and Sevilla, which are beautiful places to visit, if not to live. So, if you're planning to live somewhere and you don't know where to go, I love Spain. I think it's a good quality of life in Spain. So good weather, good food, good people, and it's lovely. Sophia says, I hope to visit Spain at some point and pay a visit and gratitude. Yeah, excellent. I live in Portugal. I live in Portugal right now, but I don't teach here. I teach mostly in Spain because I'm Spanish and I have my trainings over there. But definitely, if you're coming, let me know, and then I'll tell you where we can meet. Yeah. Kim said, you should think about having some kind of online school course with this content reaching more English audiences. They would want to learn more about Kundalini Yoga. Yes, well, what I mentioned is that in 2020, 2021, 2022, that's what I did. Yeah, and now then I had a lot of free time that I said, well, I'm going to dedicate it to doing the YouTube thing. So the courses that I'm doing is here in YouTube. So this is my teaching, yeah? And you see, I'm quite busy. On the weekends, I take one weekend to be with my daughters and I don't work. And then one weekend I am doing some training. And my whole calendar is full. I think for 2024, I have only one weekend free. And I have a training to organize. So that's not going to be free. So even if I organize more trainings, it would have to be during the week, because on weekends I'm already busy. And if it's during the week, this is for me what I'm doing here. Yeah, maybe I don't know what else can I say. These are my courses right now. So you are in a course right now, even if you didn't sign up for that. Let's see. Willie, I appreciate you doing the videos to teach us. It's always a pleasure to learn from you. Wahayuru, yeah, Wahayuru, thank you for your comment. Sophia is also writing, what I learned here so far is priceless. So grateful for your kindness in sharing. Yes, Wahayuru, I'm glad you are enjoying this. And look, there is many websites. There is many places where you can go to online courses from many teachers. And so if you want to do like a formal course and train yourself to be a teacher, like a level 1 teacher, then I would suggest you can do that. And there is a number of them in English and English online courses. So even my teacher, Raman Singh, so he's running courses online. So you can go and do that. But somehow what I offer here in the YouTube channel is something a little bit different. So I'll tell you what happens. When I'm teaching a level 1, there's going to be a certification, right? You're going to get a certificate and you're going to be a teacher for Kundalini Yoga afterwards. What that means, and because it's a certificate that is valid worldwide, there is some levels of some criteria that I have to follow for that training. So I have some topics that we have to cover. So every weekend, let's say we are going for the weekend, it's going to be on roles and responsibilities. So that's a particular weekend, yeah? Or mantra, yeah? Mantra and sadhana, or asanas, whatever. That weekend I have that topic to cover. And when we are doing that training, because we need to cover that topic, we cannot really go far away. So I'm just delivering that content and that's it. Which is great by itself because you are going to be trained to be a level 1 teacher. However, I constantly feel when I'm teaching a level 1, I constantly feel when there's a question from a student and then they want to talk about something, and we cannot go too far with that because it's a level 1. While here in YouTube, you can ask any question. You can ask to talk about anything, not even questions. Let's just talk about something and we can go as far as we want and we have as much time as we want. I don't have a time limit and I don't have a content to deliver that if I don't cover it, I'm going to feel bad because that in the training that student has to cover that. If I don't do it, some other trainer is going to have to do it. So it's my responsibility. So you see how this approach is a little bit different, yeah. And John says, but your video content is fantastic, especially the drawing. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I like drawings a lot. And so yes, in a way, if you want to learn about mantras, the mantra course I did, that's like a whole year of training. That's like 15 hours of content. So that's a lot. So yeah, that's my idea. And right now, so far, I've been doing everything. It has been like service. I'm not getting any money from this. This is just me sharing. I don't get any money from ads. I don't even know if you receive ads when you are watching these videos. Maybe you can tell me when you opened and you connected today, did you see any ad through YouTube? If so, I'm not getting any money. But I'm not getting any money also because the channel is very small. And I just received this Christmas, actually. I received a message from YouTube that the channel is the right size now to be monetized, which means that, people can subscribe to the channel and they can agree to pay a certain amount eventually, or monthly, or they can just give tips to the work that I'm doing. And if so, then great. From next year, I will activate that. And not because I necessarily need to make this my source of income. I already mentioned before, I have another source of income that it's good for me. However, there is something in an exchange of energy. You didn't get any ads? Okay, good to know, Sophia. So what happens is, there is a kind of like a sentence. It says, if you come with the empty hands, you leave with the empty hands. No? So if you don't bring any energy, you don't get any energy. So there's a natural exchange of energy, and money is a good exchange for that. I'm not asking for money. I'm just saying this is generally why we pay courses. When you go to a course and you pay money, you don't pay for the teachings. The teachings are priceless. Like somebody said, these are priceless. The teachings have no price. But you pay for the time of the teacher, and you pay for, they have their own expenses. And so they had their own education. They had to spend money to get that. So that's what you are paying, no? For appreciating the time that they are getting. In a way, if you get something for free, you don't value it so much. And I can understand that in the level of, I'm sharing so many things here in YouTube, and some other teachers have said to me also, but look, you are just sharing this free and everyone can get it. And I said, well, there could be an exchange. And if somebody is going to, in the future, watch an ad, that's the exchange that they are getting. They are going to, the ads are going to give you some money as a YouTube creator. And maybe somebody will want to subscribe to the channel and pay something monthly. Then that's great. But again, this is not my intention. And so for me, this is like, in a way, I've been accumulating too much, learning all these things. And I felt like I needed a place to open them up. And also, because where I live right now in Portugal, and I don't have a yoga studio. I used to have my yoga studio in Spain, and then I closed that when I moved to Portugal. So I don't have a Sangat here. So I'm thinking, the way the planet is moving, this universe, everyone is moving online, and this is the time to create spiritual Sangat, so online. So this is my attempt to see how it works, to create Sangat through YouTube. And look, there's 9 people of you right now here connected with me. And I really appreciate that. And I think this is very valuable that we can connect right now, here, in this online form. So this is, for me, the most important. Why do I think this is a good point to stop? It's been 2 hours. It's a good session, yeah? This is something I mentioned at the beginning of today. Expect for next year more of these sessions, more regular. And I have been unable to say too far in advance when am I going to be streaming. But hopefully that's going to change. I'm going to be able to say, look, every Tuesday and Thursday and Friday, or Monday, whatever the days, and say clearly when am I going to be covering that. So I'm planning for next year to be doing some more courses like the ones we have been doing right now, like the course on the mind. I'm thinking about doing a numerology course. We're going to go into numerology one day per week, maybe, and then leave some day for meditation and practice and things like that. And then maybe I was thinking some open days, like reading a book like the Yoga Sutras, and just be reading it together and see what happens, right? King says, thank you, Ardaas. A very happy new year to you and your family. Very happy year to everyone. May we all move faster towards God this year. Godspeed. Wairu, thank you for the message. Thank you for the blessings indeed. So yes, thank you everyone for having been here for this closing the year today. Satnam also says thank you, Satnam, everyone who was here, everyone who was patient with my way of talking, and thank you for this and all your content. Thank you, Le Hufacker. Hufacker. I'm not pronouncing it properly, probably. I'm sorry about doing a disgrace with your name. But thank you, everyone. Thank you, Willie. Thank you, everyone, Latika, everyone who has been, Sophia, everyone who has been connecting here. And have a lovely transition to the new year. And expect on the second week of the new year, I will talk about the numbers of the new year. So we will do something like that, and we'll start with the new sessions. Thank you, everyone, and Satnam, take care.